It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Forum here on Eagle Community Television. Good to have you watching along. The program is brought to you by Hayes Med. Our guest today is Charlotte Linsner, and she is with Options. She's the Executive Director of Options. And Charlotte, when we were talking earlier, I was trying to spell an acronym out of Options, but that's the name you've chosen for your organization. What exactly does Options do?
Options provides services, direct services, for domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking victims.
And you say direct service. What does that mean?
That means working directly with the victim. We get a call in from the victim who says they want services, whether it's housing, whether it's peer counseling, whether it's a transportation to safety, and coming into our shelter for safety reasons due to a domestic violence or sexual assault incident. So that's direct service, working directly with that victim.
Well, my guess is, one, you get some very tough situations to be in, but that's why you've been a part of it. When did you start with Options?
I started as a volunteer in Options in 1976 out in Goodland, Kansas.
And you've been executive director now for 14 years?
Going on 14 years.
Well, one of the things I was impressed with in looking through the numbers is that you have helped just a large number of people who have been involved, some of it kids, some of it adults, but frankly your ability to give them different options is surprising, the numbers that you reach. What's the area of coverage?
It's from the 18 counties of Northwest Kansas, so it's from the Russell County line to the Colorado line, and then the Russell County line to the Nebraska County line. That's all our service area. We have one office here in Hayes and an outreach office in Colby.
And so how does that work? Somebody needs and somebody has an issue. What kind of things do you run into?
When you're saying run into?
What kind of calls? When you pick up the phone and somebody needs help of Options, what do you mostly hear about?
Well, mostly we hear about, the fact that someone has been abused, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's psychological, whether it's financial. Abuse is abuse regardless of what it is. So we work with that victim where they are. It could be that they've been a victim of abuse for 20 years. It could be that they've been a victim of abuse for 2 hours. Wherever they are, we work with them at that point. What do they want to do? That's the name Options. We don't advise our clients on what they can and can't do. We say, here are some things you can do. Would you like to come in for some peer counseling and work with us? We're not licensed therapists, but we will refer out to a licensed therapist if that's what they need.
So some of it involves not only finding a good option for someone, but also that immediate need that can happen as well.
Right, and also believing them. That's the main thing about a victim, regardless of what you're a victim of. Please believe me. That's what they're trying to say. And so a lot of times they might have gone to family or friends and they didn't quite believe that person, because an abuser is very good at manipulating, especially family and friends. So a lot of times they don't really see the abuse. The only person that really sees the abuse is the person who's abused. That sometimes an abuser will only abuse the spouse. Sometimes he'll only abuse the children. Sometimes they'll pick out one child. So we know our statistics are, and excuse me for saying but our statistics are it's 95% of men against women and 5% of women against men that are reported.
You mentioned that are reported,
That are
because
reported.
that is one of the key issues, and probably one of the reasons you're here talking today is because a lot of them are not reported.
They're not reported.
Why is that?
Well, it's a shame factor. It's really hard to think that the person who loves you, who keeps telling you they love you, male or female, would harm you in such a physical way or a mental way, that manipulation of making you think you're crazy. And that's really, really, truly hard for you to start believing that this is that real person, because that's not the person you first met.
Well, let's say somebody does call and they have one of those issues. What do you do next to help them? What are the options that you have for helping them?
We have referral agencies that we work with. So if they need housing, so I'm going to work to get them into safe shelter, but the safe shelter is only for, a short time. It's not a long time thing. So we work with them while they're in shelter to build their self-esteem, and then get them to find, do they need housing? Do they need food? Do they need a job? Do they need to go to school? What options do they really have out there to making a new life for themselves?
And you mentioned self-esteem, and that goes along with the counseling, but that also is one of the negative effects of domestic violence is the self-esteem. It just seems to go away.
It goes away.
Providing that sort of care on a short-term basis is so helpful.
If you have someone who's been abused, I knew a lady that had been abused over 50-some years, and she just finally one day walked away. After 50-some years, she walked away. There's a lot of people that don't ever get out of it, and it was quite a tremendous amount of time to build that self-esteem. But it can be, self-esteem can be gone in 2 hours, again.
Well, I was looking at a couple of numbers here, and it says from 2009 to 2013, 190 adults and 188 children under the age of 17 received safe shelter.
Correct.
From options.
Correct.
You don't even think about that, but that's a lot of people over the last few years that have needed a safe shelter, whether it's temporary or a little bit longer than that, to keep them away from danger.
Right, to keep them away from danger. One of the things we do know, one of the worst statistics there is that a victim is 75% more of a chance of being killed when they're trying to leave the situation. So there's a question that's always asked, why does the victim stay? Well, the victim stays because it's safer to stay. It's really safer to stay. Our question that we need to start saying is, why does the abuser abuse? What is so bad that they're abusing? We need to focus the problem on the problem, which is the abuser.
You mentioned, people make a call. Is this an emergency thing? I mean, if somebody's in one of those, say, domestic situations that are bad, what's the best thing to do? Is it better to call 911 or better to call options or better to wait till the situation? What do you recommend to someone?
Either one's fine. 911, we're connected with the police. The police are going to call us and say, we have someone up here. First, they're going to ask the victim if they want to talk to us because we're voluntary services. So then we're going to go up if necessary. But you can also call our 800 number, which is 800-794-4624, and get the immediate services.
Now, do you go out and, because funding, you mentioned earlier that one, you're in part of a grant or a funding campaign right now, but a lot of your funding comes from grants.
Competitive grants. We have to write the grants every year, and we're never guaranteed any of those dollars. We service 18 counties with 13 people. We run a shelter house, we do awareness campaigns, and we give direct service, as you can see, to quite a number of people.
And when you say awareness campaigns, this is obviously a great program to make people aware of this, but what are some of the other campaigns you're doing?
We have we have staff that goes out on what we call loop trips, so they go through all the counties. Within a month, we have hit every county that we serve, and we have a form that we go through, and we talk to the people in the counties and what's happening in your county. So that's kind of an awareness campaign we do. We work with the hairdressers on a Cut It Out campaign, which the hairdressers across our service area help us provide information to clientele that could possibly be abused. So those are some of the things that we do.
Well, that's interesting, because I know one of the things that people watch sometimes, they want information. You also have a board, and we're going to get to talk to the vice chair of your board here in just a little bit. But what do you tell people that want to be involved? What's the best way to be involved with your group? One, give money for the campaign. That
would be very nice.
That would be nice.
Very nice, because it does take a village to raise a child. So it takes a village to help victims. Sometimes abuse is something that might have happened when they were younger, and then all of a sudden there's a flashback, and all of a sudden they realize that they need some help. The abuse can be 2 weeks that they get a little help, and sometimes 2 years that they stay around and work to make sure that their life is better. Volunteering, we can always use volunteers. All of our board, they are all volunteers, and we have, according to our bylaws, 4 of them can be from Ellis County. The rest have to be from the other counties that we serve, so that there's a voice heard from all of the counties that we serve. We could use some help with our support groups. We're working to get some support group. We have a men's support group, a women's support group, and a children's support group. We're working to get a teen support group going, so that'd be something for dating violence. So a lot of ways to help.
We talked about the campaign as being one way to help. You're working to raise $250,000.
We would like to raise.
That's not a small amount of money to raise.
We know that.
And why would people give?
People would give because there isn't anyone that you don't know that doesn't know someone that has either been in a domestic violence situation, or a family member or a friend that's been in a domestic violence situation. You can't go anywhere without saying something about who I work for, and then all of a sudden they'll say, oh, I had a sister that was involved in that. She barely got out with her life. As you know, many of them die, which is the worst thing in our world. Many of them die.
Well, I love your passion for helping. What got you started in this?
My grandmother was severely abused. My mother was severely, and has 3 older kids by a stepfather. So every day I tell my grandma, this one's for you. Every day I go to work, I say, this is for you, Grandma.
Very good. Well, thank you for being here. And Charlotte, I can tell you're involved, and if you're out there and want to be involved in one of these areas, please give a call. You had a number. What was your number again?
800-794-4624 is the 800 number. And then 785-625-3055 is here in Hayes.
That's Charlotte Linsner, and she has been a part of our program today on the forum. We're going to be coming back with a board member from Options after this from Hayes Med.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hayes Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.hayesmed.com.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, and tons of high-definition TV channels, all with a level of customer service and value you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum program. Glad you're watching today. An interesting program brought to you by Hayes Med. If you have any questions or comments, thoughts, or ideas, send them to me at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. Don't put an E in Shorman or it goes to some other person. And if you want to chase us down on Facebook, you can do that under the ECTV forum. List us as your friend and send me any comments via that way as well. Our guest, we just changed. We have a new guest here that's talking about the same thing, Options, which is the domestic and sexual violence program that offers and does programs in 18 counties in northwestern Kansas. Kathy Wallert is our guest right now, and she is the vice president of the board.
Yes.
And Kathy, what got you started with this program?
Well, I grew up in an era where domestic violence, any kind of violence like that, was kind of kept under wraps. And I saw that growing up, and I always felt that there should be something done about it. And so when I started in private practice as a psychotherapist, I had the option or the opportunity to work with domestic violence cases. And it just became such a big, huge issue for me because you know, you see people who just absolutely cannot do things for themselves. They need a little extra help. I listened to what Charlotte had to say a while ago. I mean, we don't tell people what to do. We give them options. And so when I had the opportunity to join, I was so ready to help make a difference, you know, later on too.
Well, being a professional in this field, you see it every day. Are you surprised? Because when you look at the numbers of people that Options helps, that's a surprising number. It is to me, but you see it every day.
I see it all the time, and some of the problems is it's like Charlotte says, the information we have is just those people who report. There are so many others out there who absolutely do not report because of, like she said, whether fear or being self-conscious about what's going on in their lives, or just being so kept in such a small area that they really have no other options according to them. And so when they finally get the courage to reach out, we want to be there and do something to help them get out of that situation.
You know, if somebody gets in they're in a problem situation, you know, they get away. Is it a confidential thing if somebody would call and say, boy, I just need some ideas here?
Absolutely.
And it's free, right?
It is absolutely free, yes. The thing that we tell people on the professional level, the only time we would ever break confidence is if they're a threat to themselves or somebody else. That's basically the only time we would ever break confidence, and then we have to turn that in.
And that's a legal requirement,
Yes,
I know.
yes.
But if somebody doesn't feel like they're in a tough situation, just want somebody to talk to, options is really a good first step for somebody to take.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. It is, because they just reach out, and they're so good at what they do. They're trained, in extensive training, and so that helps.
Well,
So,
Kathy,
yeah.
thanks for being a part. You're one of, 12 board members?
Yes, yes.
And as I understand it, 4 can be from Ellis County, but the rest are from Northwest Kansas.
Yeah, I'm from Russell, so yes. One of my other duties as vice president, I'm in charge of fundraisers and things like that. So it's like Charlotte said, we're getting ready to reach out to people, so they can be expecting some phone calls or emails.
Can they
or
find
something.
you, or by
Absolutely.
watching this program? You know,
Yes,
Charlotte had
yes.
some numbers. We'll put up some other information on how to be able to reach them. But my
Yes.
guess is they can find you if they want to
Yes,
participate.
they can. I'm more than happy. I'll give you my email address and my phone number, and they
Okay.
can call me.
Okay,
So, yeah.
very good.
My email address is kjwallert@gmail.com, and my telephone number is 785-483-9176.
Well, very good. I'm impressed, Kathy, with you and your group, and Charlotte does a wonderful job of representing
Oh,
you.
yes,
but
she does.
The passion that you all have to make sure that this works and make sure there are options
Mm-hmm.
for those that have those issues. So thanks for being on our program
Thank
today.
you for having us.
And good luck with the fundraising campaign. If you're watching out there and want to participate and help, whether it be as a volunteer or help with the campaign, $250,000 is not a small amount of
No,
money.
it's not.
So a lot of work to do that and make it successful, and to continue to be able to offer these services
Yes.
free to those people who need it, because that may be their only option if they have a free
That's
service
right.
to do that.
That's right.
Kathy Wallert has been our guest here, part of the Options program in Northwest Kansas. Thank you for watching the forum. It's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communication, our community connected.
Youthful body, tight tummy, smooth facial lines. Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery is here to help you achieve your goals and give yourself the new look you've always wanted. Greystone offers sophisticated surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures. With services now available locally, there's no need to wait any longer. Contact Greystone Cosmetic and Reconstructive Surgery at Hayes Medical Center today or online at greystonecosmetic.hayesmed.com.